Hello, and welcome to Rethinking Our History, where we seek to shed a light on events that have been forgotten and covered up, and to make us all question how much do we really know about our history? I'm Felicia.
And I'm Ian, and we are here to reveal all the sordid details of history that have been swept under the rug. Get ready to get angry, be curious, and maybe have a laugh or two as we rethink our history.
Hello, friends.
Hey guys,
Welcome back to another lesson, number 27.
27.
Wait, ain't that the club? The one where everybody dies? Like Amy Winehouse, Kurt Cobain, Robert Johnson, the 27 Club?
Maybe
I think it is. I should have done that. Oh well.
have to look it up on my phone. Wait, no, hold on. I got it.
I think it's the
I got it.
27 Club because there's also like a 39 Club. That is kind of freaky. I'm coming up on 39 and it's weird.
The 27 Club.
Mhm.
Musical artist. Yep, that's
Yeah.
it. It's Jimi Hendrix, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse, Jim Morrison, the Beatles guy, maybe.
John Lennon.
No, uh,
I don't
the
know
other
them.
one. The other one.
See, that's really.
Janis Joplin.
Yeah, Janice. She was so young. All right, well, welcome, folks,
Hey
to the
guys.
27 Club. We hope you enjoyed the last 2 weeks, even though we know enjoyed's not quite the right word, but that's all I got for it. Timothy McVeigh blowing up Oklahoma, all that stuff.
I mean, it's all history.
If you were moved by the last couple of weeks, buckle up. Because, wow, this episode, wow. But first, the business. If you found us here first and are a fan of the paranormal, give our show, The Paranormal Lovers, a listen. Over 100 episodes about everything from The Boston's Lady in Black to the mystery of D.B. Cooper.
That was a good one.
That is a good one. And there's actually been some, I should do a update on D.B. Cooper
Yeah.
because there's been some updates. Um, If you would please be so kind, give us a follow and share on social media Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We also have videos of both shows on YouTube. To find us on any of these platforms, just search for the Paranormal Lovers in the search bar. If you would like to support the making of these shows, we have a couple of ways you can do so. First, we have our merch shop over at theparanormallovers.threadless.com. We also have a Patreon at patreon.com/the paranormal lovers, where for $5 a month you get early access to unedited videos of both shows as well as stickers and other swag.
Go get some merch.
Swag. I think there's a song like that. And finally, if you have any personal stories, be it true crime, paranormal, or historical, email us at theparanormallovers@yahoo.com. And I guess
Or if you just like bitching about the government.
That too. If you want to
We
complain.
need people to talk about the government with us.
Yes, because we're talking to each other about the government, but we're kind of getting sick of talking to each other about the government. Actually, we're really not. Every day, I turn on the news to do Ian's braids in the mornings, like I do his hair in the morning. I like touching his head in the mornings, give him some love before he goes to work. And we watch the news. We're just like,
first 100 days.
First 100 days. Still in the first 100 days. God damn. All right. And there's this whole shit about him talking about he needs to know within 90 days whether or not he needs to enact martial law, and that's coming up on 420.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
Also, we got a couple of months, but we'll go ahead and shout it out. We are going to be at Haywood County Pride on Main on Saturday, June 28th. It's going to be a great time. This is the second Pride we've had in our county. Hopefully, nobody shows their ass that day. Hopefully.
If they do, there's a lot of people there.
Yes, there are a lot of people there. And also, if anybody wants to get together with my husband
Do some securities.
Make a left-leaning gun club full of white men with guns who want to protect brown folks and queer folks and other folks hit us up at the paranormallovers@yahoo.com. Please. All right, folks. So the last couple of weeks we've looked at what happens when some pissed off men decide they must make the government pay. This week we are going to look at what happens when black people piss off the government. I know many people who refuse to believe that the government would ever attack their own citizens, but a decade before the government took their frustrations out on David Koresh and Randy Weaver, they took their anger out on a whole damn neighborhood in Philadelphia. But before we get to the events of May 13th, 1985, let's go even further back and see where the roots of move come from. On July 26, 1931, Vincent Leaphart was born in the Montauk neighborhood of Philly. Look up John Africa because he does change his name. That's what most people know him as. To parents Frederick Leaphart and Lenny May. His father worked as a handyman, and Lenny stayed at home to raise their 10 children.
Wow.
What? Lenny? Mm. Mm. I'm like, I can't even stay at home and raise one kid, but then again, if I had 10 kids, I'd probably have a lot more shit to keep me occupied.
Right.
But in her early 40s, Lenny passed away, and Vincent blamed the hospital for her death. As a child, Vincent was underweight and described as a quote unquote painfully thin. At age 9, he was sent to a special school for disabled children where he was to be taught a trade, but school was a constant struggle for Vincent. He would drop out at the age of 16. He was drafted into the army during the Korean War and served over a year in the infantry. When he returned home, he met Dorothy Clark, Dorothy Clark, and soon after the two would get married at age 29. Sorry guys, you'll get those little skins on the side of your finger.
Hangnail.
Mm-mm. It's not the nail, it's like hard skin on
Yeah.
the side of your finger. Sorry. I know that was gross. Some people are gonna be like, hush, it's my skin, leave me alone.
I get a ton of them.
Dorothy described their marriage as ordinary, and many of their friends described Vincent as, quote, level headed and dependable, end quote. It is also said that Dorothy would help him learn to read and write. In 1971, Vincent moved his family to the Powelltown neighborhood of West Philly. Born and raised on the playground is where I spent most of my days. They lived. It's the Echo Leela, folks. I can't help it sometimes. I did the exact same thing when, like, every time I typed out West Philly, yep, there it goes again. They lived in an area close to the University of Pennsylvania. While the area was flooded with academic types, Vincent was seen as an eccentric yet tolerable guy, as it was a diverse area. When faced with foreclosure of their home, Community Housing Inc. stepped in to buy his house so they could keep living there. Community Housing Incorporated is a co op where members pooled their money to buy buildings to live in. The mission was to, quote, rebel against an oppressive society that bulldozed homes to make way to build more academic housing, end quote.
Hmm.
And like, we're still dealing with that here.
Oh, yeah.
Like, there are apartment buildings popping up fucking
Yeah.
everywhere. I'm like, why? Why? In 1972, Vincent Leaphart changed his name to John Africa to pay homage to the continent where all life began. He soon began attracting people who believed in his ideologies. Oh, excuse me. He met Donald Glassy, who was a social worker for the university, who was so intrigued by John and his ideas, he offered to compile them into a book. Because remember, John Africa was illiterate. With Donald's help, John moved his organization to a house on Pearl Street in West Philly. Although the two would split ways later due to a difference in ideology, the writings Donald had done became known as the Guidelines, the primary teachings and principles for what John called at the time the Christian movement for life, but would later become known as MOVE. And MOVE is not an acronym for anything, but is instead what John Africa and members of the organization were doing. Quote, everything that's alive moves. If it didn't, it would be stagnant, dead, end quote.
Hmm.
Making moves. Some of the values of this organization included vegetarianism. Vegetarianism. Sorry.
Vegetarianism.
Ah, listen, you should hear Patty try and say some words without her two front teeth right now. Girl's
Yeah, she has a
struggling.
hard time.
The inherent value of all, including vegetarianism, end quote, the inherent value of all living things, end quote. They accepted members from all walks of life and taught them about corruption and racism. They also protested against abusive zoos, the education system, and police brutality. They followed green politics and were opposed to science, medicine, and technology. Ed Pilkington of The Guardian described their political views in a 2018 article as, quote, a strange fusion of black power and flower power. The group that formed the early 1970s melded the revolutionary ideology of the Black Panthers with the nature and loving communalism of the 1960s hippies. You might characterize them as black liberationist come eco warriors, end quote.
Right on.
They also followed the ideals of, hang on, anarcho primitivism, primitivism. From Wikipedia, quote, anarcho primitivism, also known as anti civilian civilization anarchism, is an anarchist critique of civilization that advocates a return to non civilized ways of life through deindustrialization, abolition of the division of labor or specialization, abandonment of large scale organization and all technology other than prehistoric technology, and the dissolution of agriculture, end quote.
All right.
It's a little much for me.
I mean,
Um, I kind of like agriculture. Not all technology is bad technology. It depends on the person using the technology. And like, I can kind of see the abolition of the division of labor, specialization, deindustrialization. Like, kind of get that too, because industrialization is, we're killing ourselves. We're not killing the planet.
pretty much.
But like, I don't know, agriculture, even ancient civilizations have had agriculture.
Yeah.
Like, what? What? I don't know what kind of like de-civilization they're talking about. There's been civilizations for millennia. So how far we talking like Neanderthals? Y'all want to be Neanderthals? Is that what we're talking about? No. I enjoy indoor plumbing and electricity. Thank you very much. This, of course, painted a target on their backs with the local police. In a documentary released in 2013 titled Let the Fire Burn, it was revealed by a former Philadelphia police officer that between 1972 1978, 6 years, members of MOVE were arrested 193 times.
Jesus.
193 times,
What
folks.
for?
Random shit like noise complaints from the neighbors, trash being out in the yard, parole violations, you know, anything.
Hmm.
Anything. Like, did they need a reason? It was a black liberationist organization. Did they need a reason in the 70s? And we forget what our police system and jail system is built upon. Slavery, folks.
Yep. And the rich.
In August, on August 8th, 1978, Philly PD, after complaints from neighbors, attempted to evict MOVE from their Pearl Street home. A shootout occurred that resulted in the death of Officer James J. Ramp and several injuries. 9 members of MOVE were arrested. Chuck, Delbert, Eddie, Janet, Janny, Merrill, Michael, Phil, and Debbie Sims Africa, and subsequently convicted of the officer's death. Merrill and Phil Africa died while incarcerated, while the other were released by 2020.
Hmm.
However, it has been argued that it was friendly fire that took Ramp's life. In a 2018 article in The Guardian, again, it is stated that, quote, Eyewitnesses, however, gave accounts suggesting that the shot may have come from the opposite direction to the basement, raising the possibility that Ramp was accidentally felled by police fire. Move members continue to insist that they had no workable guns in their house at the time of the siege. Several months earlier, in May of 1978, several guns, most of them inoperable, had been handed over to police at the Move house. However, prosecutors at the trial of the Move 9 told the jury that at the time of the August siege, there had been functioning firearms in the house. End quote.
Hmm.
So again, it's kind of like with Fred Hampton. Oh, well, we walked in and they started firing. So we started firing back. Did they? But did they?
Right.
Mm. The city of Philadelphia had the Pearl Street house demolished after the rest of the organization was forced out. This time, John set up shop at 6221 Osage Avenue. And I don't know, coincidences are coincidences. Weird things happen. It's weird that this event took place on Osage Avenue when you got the Osage tribe and nation and all the shit that they were put through for their land and their oil and their money.
Right.
Like, that's a weird connection, but okay. When Donald Glassy was arrested for being in possession of weapons, remember that guy that was like, I want to write a book for you since you can't read, sir? He tried to start throwing Move and John under the bus for various crimes to save his own skin. But on July 23rd, 1981, John and Alfonso Africa were acquitted of all weapons and conspiracy charges. May 13th, 1985 would once again see the Philly PD attempting to evict the organization and arresting its members. They had arrest warrants for 4 of the members for various crimes, including contempt of court and making terrorist threats, and the mayor and police commissioner had classified Move as a terrorist organization.
Mhm.
Before they sent out 500 officers to attempt to arrest and remove the members, they evicted the area surrounding the house, or evacuated the area surrounding the house, and told residents they could return after 24 hours. They would not. 500 officers to
Wow.
remove 13 people.
Jeez.
6 adult, I think it was 7 adults and 6 kids.
Wow.
500 officers.
That's crazy.
People are just. A common tactic used by law enforcement in hostage situations is to turn off the power and water to the building to make the captors uncomfortable. They decided to use this method with the residents of the Move house. The police commissioner read a letter that started with, quote, "Attention, Move. This is America. You have to abide by the laws of the United States," end quote.
All right.
Unless you're an old white man, old orange man who's president, then you ain't got to do shit.
Yep.
When that did not force them out, law enforcement decided to use brute force to remove the residents. Again, 7 adults and 6 children. The police threw tear gas into the house but were met with gunfire. For 90 minutes, Move and law enforcement had a gun battle. One officer was hit in the back but was wearing a vest and was only bruised. Which, y'all ever been shot while wearing a Kevlar vest?
Chew.
I have not, but holy
I don't
shit, you're
never want to neither.
stopping a bullet. Like, I've seen like wounds after it, and it's like, or not wounds, but like the bruises after it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm good. Law enforcement used over 10,000 rounds of ammunition
Jeez.
before the police commissioner called for more dramatic measures to be taken. Now, keep in mind, they used the same amount of ammunition on this one house as they did to kill 20,000 emus
Yeah.
over in Australia. Okay. Wow. Fucking wow. 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 I think that's why. Remember how they were like, the emus are as strong as the strongest Zulu warriors? I guess they thought these fucking people were Zulu warriors or something. I don't know. Like, this is the wildest shit I've ever heard of. When the first time I heard about this, because I heard about this once before, I think another podcast covered it. And I was like, who did what now? The police commissioner of the city of Philadelphia ordered for this house to be bombed.
It's crazy.
From a Pennsylvania state helicopter, Philly PD detective Lieutenant Frank Powell dropped two 1 pound bombs on the roof of the house. What did they use to make these bombs? Tovex. Sound familiar?
Yep.
Same shit Timothy McVeigh used.
Hmm.
Yet this shit was supplied to them by the FBI. And it
Damn.
wasn't just Tovex. They took the Tovex and combined it with 2 pounds of, yet again, FBI supplied C4.
Wow.
And then they just went, dropped them on the fucking roof.
That's crazy.
After about 45 seconds, the bombs exploded, igniting the fuel in a generator and setting the house ablaze. While the building had earlier been drenched by firefighters, the fire was quick to catch. The firefighters were told by higher ups to hold back and not attempt to put it out because officials were concerned the MOVE members would shoot them. And there was one source I said that like when the firefighters came in, they were shot at. But then again, I also just seen many that just said they were like, "No, we don't want you to get shot. Just let it burn."
Right.
But Ramona, Africa, one of the two survivors of the fire, says that law enforcement were the ones shooting at people trying to flee the burning building. 11 of the 13 people inside the house died as a direct result of the bombing. John, Rhonda, Teresa, Frank, Connor, Tree, Delisha, Netta, no, Felicia, Delisha, Netta, Little Phil, Tommaso, and Raymond, Africa. After spending 7 years in prison for riot and conspiracy, in 1996, a federal jury awarded Ramona, Africa, and relatives of the two of the bombing victims $1.5 million. It was found that, quote, the city used excessive force and violated the members' constitutional protections against unreasonable search and seizure, end quote.
God dang, you think?
No, that wasn't excessive at all. What do you mean it was excessive? What? What? Oh, I can't. Like, who's like, yeah, let's bomb them? Like, why was that the police commissioner's thought?
I don't know.
But it was not just the members of Moves and their relatives who were affected by this bombing. Remember how people were evacuated and told they could return in 24 hours?
Their houses weren't there no more.
They would not to be able to do so as 61 houses surrounding the one that was initially bombed were damaged from the fire.
Yeah, I'm looking at a picture of it right now. It's like a whole block.
2 blocks. It was 2 city blocks. In 2005, residents who were displaced due to the bombing were awarded $12.83 million from the city of Philadelphia.
Wow. That was an expensive mistake.
You think? It gets more expensive. And then the vultures swoop in because they end up making even fucking more mistake. Now they make calculated choices. These weren't mistakes. These were calculated choices. By the end of 1985, reconstruction had begun on the homes that were damaged. They were rebuilt by the city and a private developer, but when residents moved back in, they found and their homes were made of poor quality. In 1995, Mayor Ed Rendell had the Army Corps of Engineers come out to inspect the houses, and they found that all 61 of the houses were not up to code.
Hmm.
The city attempted to rehabilitate the homes for about 10 years, but in 2005, they gave up and offered the residents $150,000 each to move. Over 2/3 of the residents accepted the offer and left their homes. I think now they're trying to rebuild it back up, like refurbish the neighborhood. Michael Africa Jr. bought the house at 6221 Osage Avenue, or what, the land, I guess, and he's planning on turning it into a museum at some point. I think he bought it like in 2023. So
yeah,
but the hits just keep on coming, Bill. Ooh. It was revealed in 2021 that the bones of two victims, Tree and Delisha Africa, 12 and 4, or 14 and 12 respectively, had been kept at the University of Pennsylvania Museum of Archaeology and Anthropology and had been transferred to Princeton. And Princeton didn't know where they were at.
The hell? Why'd they keep their bones?
To add insult to injury, they were used by two professors to make educational videos for their classes.
They turned them into skeletons. What the hell?
Well, they were honestly, their bones were probably all that was left. But if it wasn't, yeah, they would have had to. What is it? What is it they call it? They call it like articulating a skeleton. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they would have had to go through many links just to strip them down to bone and then keep them and then put them in an educational video. Like they're a fucking, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know. Mike Africa Jr. was recorded saying, quote, "They were bombed and burned alive, and now you want to keep their bones," end quote.
That's crazy.
The bones were finally returned to Mike, not all of the bones, however, in November of 2024.
Wow.
More remains were found at the University of Pennsylvania.
Hmm.
Like, that wasn't even 6 months ago.
So the city just kept their bodies.
I guess it was 6 months ago.
It's crazy.
Now, as with most organizations of this type, there have been accusations of abuse and occult activity. Former members have went on the Murder at Ryan's Run podcast and have posted on the blog Leaving Move in 2021 discussing the physical and mental abuse they claim to have suffered. They also claim that the group had a doctrine of homophobia and colorism. I don't know, there wasn't a ton about the organization itself. I mean, I read through it, but most of the stuff is about this
The
event.
bombing, yeah.
So, wasn't as much about that as other cults, you know?
Yeah.
If you want to do some more research on this event, there are several documentaries to watch. The bombing of Osage Avenue was released in '86. Let the Fire Burn was released in 2013, and 40 Years a Prisoner was released in 2020. We've been seeing an uptick in cops abusing their power recently. I pray that we never have another city sanctioned bombing ever again. And if we do, I really hope it will wake up people to how bad it is getting again.
For sure.
And I've been saying this a lot lately. Nothing is off my 2025 bingo card.
I mean,
Nothing. So what do you think about the city that bombed itself?
it's crazy.
That was a nickname it got in like 1986, I think it was nicknamed the city that bombed itself.
I could see it happening again, though.
Right? Right. And I'm really hoping it's like, I don't know, some crazy white people they go after this time. Like, don't get me wrong. It's fucked up. Don't go after people if there's kids in the house. Like, goddamn, don't do that. Why you gotta burn kids alive? That's fucked up, man. But I don't. There's some crazy motherfuckers out there. They might need to bomb them. They might need to. There's a couple of them out there that I'm like, y'all want to be like Nazis? Go away. All right, folks.
Yeah, the bad part is I don't think they're going to bomb the Nazis. I think
No.
they're bombing the people that are trying to get rid of Nazis. That's the fucked up part, I guess. Like, what?
Well, they are the Nazis bombing people, so yeah, they won't be bombing the Nazis, unfortunately, because those are their friends.
Yeah.
All right, folks. Well, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I need to find a better word. Find it enlightening, interesting,
Learn something.
educational. Hope you're mad. Hope you got real mad. We should all be mad.
Yeah.
And they want to like sweep this shit under the rug, and it's like, no, bring it to the light so we can see how ugly it is.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we hope you all have a good week, and we will see y'all next week.
See you guys.
Love you. Bye.
Love you.